Well, hi, Alana. Thank you for coming to my home to do this fireside chat, even though there's not really fire here, but close enough. I appreciate you coming in. And I know we're going to talk today about the book release that we have coming up, The Energy Principles, Volume 1, which is physical body. We'll keep you folks at home in suspense about the other volumes. For me, the physical body is all about, and energy principles is all about health. And that's what this book is about. And health to me equals energy. If you're healthy, you have energy, and you have the energy to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, to accomplish your mission, to achieve your goals. You need that energy in order to do that. So that's why we focus on energy first at Arootah.
That makes an incredible amount of sense, Rich. Thank you so much for having me here. And certainly, even though we don't have a fireplace, it's a very cozy setup. And I'm happy to be here to discuss health and energy with you. I have spent many years learning from you, and I am very grateful for everything that I have learned about health and wellness and how it transforms into energy and the energy that we need to sustain our lives and to pursue success in our lives. So thank you so much for having me. I was wondering if we can begin with you sharing with us where your passion for health and energy originated.
Yeah, it does go way back. I was fortunately exposed to an ashram, really in the Poconos, which is near where I lived. We were just driving by one day. My family and I were driving by one day, and we were like, "What is that?" There's this ashram deep in this valley, and this big. And at this ashram, there were people who were studying yoga and meditation. It's like really wasn't a big thing back then, even though it's been around for thousands and thousands of years, but not in the West.
Yeah.
So we went in there, and we were exposed to this Swami. He came up to my family and said, "Is there anything that I can do for you guys? Give me your biggest problem." So I was like, "All right." So my dad said, my brother had epilepsy. And I was like, "All right, my son has epilepsy. Can you help us?" Not thinking that this guy could do anything. I was
Right.
sort of joking with him. This guy's in
Yeah.
white robes.
Yeah.
And weirdly, fast forward, he talked to my brother, asked him what brought it on, gave him breathing exercise. Now my brother was seeing all kinds of doctors, all the best doctors in New York City and Manhattan. He was on, I even remember the drug, he was on phenobarb. They were tried
Wow.
everything. Epilepsy is a really horrible condition. So, the family was suffering. Of course, my brother was suffering.
Yes.
Fast forward, he never had another seizure in his life.
That's amazing.
So we're like,
That's
this dude knows something.
wow. That
So
is
we're like, all right,
incredible.
yoga, what do you got?
Yeah.
Yoga, meditation, yeah. What else you got? Nutrition. So they were all about it, all about being healthy. Really, it's preparation for meditation. Yoga's, as you know, is
Right.
a yoga instructor.
Yeah.
Really, the purpose behind yoga, the main purpose is preparation for meditation.
Mhm.
So they wanted to be real healthy. So I learned a lot of that stuff when I was a kid. And then fast forward to my first major job, which was at Tiger Management, a hedge fund. There was Julian Robertson. He was obsessed with athletes, hiring all about peak performance and hiring athletes, people who were triathletes, like really top of their games. So we had a corporate wellness program there. We had a trainer there. It was my first trainer. I was like, I have a trainer? Cool. Paul Girardi, just great guy. Actually saw him not too long ago. So yeah, I got exposed to it at an early age. I was also into sports when I was younger. So if you're going to be into sports, I love basketball. I really wanted to be the captain of my basketball team. I had to really learn about physical structure and working out and all that stuff. So yeah, I was exposed to it at an early age.
And those are some of the things that you touch upon in the book that's coming out soon. The physical structure.
Yeah. Well, the first chapter we start out with is prevention.
Okay.
For me, it's all about prevention. As Ben Franklin says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
It's not just a saying, right? It really makes a lot of sense. If you have to get into the cure stage, you're in trouble.
Right.
If you can even be cured,
right,
it makes much more sense to focus on prevention. I believe that the top 10 causes of death are all preventable. So what does that mean?
right.
That means we're choosing to kill ourselves, right? At the end of the day, that's really the bottom line, is we are choosing to kill ourselves because it's the choices that we make to not prevent these diseases that are leading to an untimely death or to just an unhealthy life and an uncomfortable life at a minimum as we get older. So prevention's really, that's the first principle. The book is about 10 principles. So that's the first principle is prevention.
So, Rich, you were at the forefront of corporate wellness programs. Can you tell me what inspired you to develop a corporate wellness program at Blue Ridge Capital?
Sure, yeah, it was what I was talking about before. It was really Julian Robertson set one up at Tiger Management. John Griffin, my co-founder at Blue Ridge Capital, also had the foresight to do the same at Blue Ridge. So the first thing we did was we hired a trainer, still a good friend of mine, and we set up a gym at the firm. And everybody used the gym. We were a small firm, but every single employee that was there. It was probably a little peer pressure also,
I bet.
but it was also fun. And
Yeah.
as being a trainer yourself, your trainer also becomes your therapist. Right.
Yes.
So people wanted to go. This is a high pressure environment. So we would go there and we'd work out. From there, we set up a nutrition plan. We actually hired a chef. I know not everybody's fortunate to be enough to be able to do that. And I insisted that the chef only do organic foods. People had little different likes and stuff that they wanted the chef to do. So, but for the most part, everybody ate the same stuff. So it was really that inspiration. Now, John Griffin himself was a super dude. He's a triathlete.
Wow.
In fact, the first month that we started Blue Ridge Capital, he went into an Ironman triathlon. I said, "Hey, we just started, man. You're doing an Ironman triathlon?" He's like, "Yeah, they're going to be fine." So he did that. So he's really, himself is really into health.
That's really interesting. That kind of speaks to the correlation between health and energy that we were talking about before, how even though he was taking on a huge endeavor in starting his new company, he was also taking on simultaneously another huge endeavor in the triathlon. So at the same time, he has both of these, right? And I think
Absolutely.
That's what you talk a lot about in your book is expanding energy. So it was so expansive on two fronts. And I kind of wonder if that energy spoke to each other.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And John himself has the most charisma of anybody I know. He is a leader's leader. So he's always, he's always on and really inspiring people.
Absolutely.
And you may notice this on meetings. I have a lot of energy myself. I'm going. I'm like this all day long. Every time I'm with a meeting, I'm working with, people's energy. And as you know, I'm an intermittent faster. I don't eat until probably 6:30 every night. Sometimes even later if I'm busy. So the energy doesn't really come from food. Right? You have to be healthy. We'll get into nutrition stuff later. So yeah, energy and health are directly correlated. There's no doubt in my mind. You've got to be healthy in order to have the energy to achieve your goals and to accomplish your mission.
Yes, certainly. Your energy has inspired me over the years that I've known you, and I strive to keep up. So I just try to follow what you're doing in terms of energy. I won't rub it in too much.
No, stop.
I have to ask, I know that there were so many benefits to establishing this program, but were there also any challenges that you faced when introducing a wellness into the workplace?
Yeah, it was yoga really was the first one. And so I had a yoga instructor. I was the only one with a yoga instructor. I remember, people would walk by and make fun of me. Now I was the co-founder, so I was also a boss. So they would do it gently. I was like, "What are you doing in there? That's not exercise." Like, you'll see. I've been doing it for a long time. Yoga is probably, as you know, probably the best exercise you can do. I think you get all three. You get structure, you get aerobic and anaerobic.
That's right.
People don't think you can get aerobic, but you can with yoga.
Yes, and flexibility, which is often overlooked.
Yes. Right, flexibility is probably the biggest one. So so nobody did yoga, and then it became a fad, and everybody started doing it, and everybody wanted to do yoga. It's like, "Oh, can we get a yoga instructor?" It's like, "Well, you were all right, fine." So we had a couple of yoga instructors, as you might recall. So really, that was probably the biggest challenge. But everybody liked to work out. Really, the trainer. It's not just a trainer being there. Really, getting your butt in the gym. Having a trainer gets you in the gym. You've got an appointment, you get there. So having a trainer, that's kind of 50% of it at least is just getting into the gym.
Right.
And then having a trainer that's likable, a really good guy who can really talk to you about your problems. And they get you when you're really working. It's like so you open up a lot more.
Absolutely.
Now, luckily, the guy was held everything in confidence. He used to call it attorney-client privilege.
Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, what does Rick really think about it?" It's like, "Oh, I know." It's like, "Oh, tell us." Like, attorney-client privilege. Can't tell you.
Yes, it sounds like you almost needed a clause for that.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Can you describe the impact that the wellness program had on your employees' performance and overall well-being?
Really didn't have any impact on, no, I'm kidding.
I was like, really? That's impossible.
Like, what? Why are we even doing this? It had a tremendous impact on our team. Not only just on them individually, but it was culturally an amazing thing. The camaraderie, people would work out together. We would also do events together. We had a kickball team. We had a basketball team.
Cool.
So there was a lot. Wellness was just part of our culture. So there was a lot of camaraderie. And for me, people would say we can only work out. Some bosses or leaders would say you can only work out in the morning and after work. It's like, no, you can work out anytime you want. It's so good. I get a high return on my human resources by investing in them. If they're working out, I wanted them working out. If I needed to find them, I knew where I could find them. They're in the gym. I can go get you, right? In the gym, or we actually have a yoga room. I can go get you if I need you. Hardly ever did I need to do that, right? People didn't abuse it. And you just know, like, people hardly ever seem to be sick. I never did any statistics, but people seem to be generally very healthy at Blue Ridge. I'm sure the statistics would bear that out. Energy-wise, it had to have increased people's energy.
Right.
When you're not working out, sometimes you go on vacation, you get kind of behind. Sometimes I would dread going on vacation. You get into a good routine. You're working out hard, like on top of my game. It's like, vacation, oh no.
I know, absolutely.
Like, no, I might get out of my routine. So we talk a lot about that actually in our habit principles book. We talk about that, setting yourself up for success. You got to plan ahead, pre-situation. When you're at work, though, you're in the routine. People would work out, so it definitely increased their energy, reduced their time out of the office. People hardly ever got sick, and was amazing for the camaraderie and the culture of our firm.
That sounds like an incredible experience for everyone involved.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really amazing for the team. And if you talk to any folks now that we wound Blue Ridge down, you talk to them, it's really hard for them to recreate that, that culture and people that understand, leaders that actually understand. You're getting a high return on your time and on your dollars by investing in your employees. The best investment you can make is in yourself, right? And then in your employees.
Yes.
It's kind of like the oxygen mask. You got to invest in yourself first. You won't be able to help your employees. Absolutely.
It sounds like that's what you're trying to reestablish for other companies, is to create that culture for them.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're offering corporate wellness programs for our clients. And we've set up, there's a lot of different services that we can provide for them. The key is getting them to understand the best investment you can make is in your employees. And you get a high return on that investment. In those areas that I was just talking about, and the camaraderie and the collaboration, in their energy and in their reduced sick days. You get a super high return on them. And if they have a lot of energy, they're going to be better at their jobs, no matter what they're doing.
Absolutely. That sounds like in an environment where the energy is increasing and everyone is thriving. And that sounds like a perfect environment for peak performance, both in terms of health and in terms of success in business.
That's what we're all about, is elite performance, peak performance. That's where you have our life coaching, health coaching, career coaching, executive coaching. We're all about peak performance. And it starts with health. You've got to have health first. So, and then, when I am, the second principle of our book, and in the seminar, we'll be talking a lot about this. And, I insisted on really focusing on this. I focus on this with my clients as well. Usually the first thing I'll ask them, these high-powered executives, is sleep. I had one guy that I'm coaching, a super, senior guy at Goldman Sachs. My first meeting with him was, I asked him, I was like, hey, how's your sleep? He's like, how's my sleep? Like, what do you, it's like, this is supposed to be executive coaching. Like, what does sleep have to do with that? It's like, hey, I coach a lot of executives. Usually their sleep sucks.
Right.
It's like, how's your sleep? He's like, it sucks.
Yes,
You're right.
exactly.
It sucks. It's really bad. It's like, help me. Yeah, so we focused on that. That's first, because sleep leads to energy. It's renewal of energy. There are so many benefits of getting sleep and so many detriments of having a lack of sleep. So it is the number one principle. It's before, a lot of people think, I got to get more exercise. They're like, nope, sleep comes first. Without sleep, then we talk about other areas. But you really have to focus on sleep, and not just any sleep, not just the amount of sleep, but the quality of your sleep as well. When you sleep, when you go to sleep, when you wake up. Because people may get 7, 8 hours and they're still exhausted, and there are reasons for that. Sometimes they may be taking medications for sleep. They think that helps them to fall asleep, but do they get a good deep sleep? No. People drink before they go to sleep. They'll fall asleep, but
Right.
they're not getting good sleep. And you can see that I have the Aura ring on. I measure my sleep. So you can really see the statistics yourself. I really insist on anything that we do and any goal you set, measurement's really where it's at.
Right.
Yeah.
That puts it right in front of us so that we know exactly where we are. And
That's
that
right.
makes it so powerful for us to, I think, as you would say, close the gap, right, of where you are and where you need to be.
Right. And most people are not where they need to be, certainly in sleep. Between 7 and 8 hours, generally.
Yeah.
It does differ for different people.
I think that would also contribute to the company culture when your whole team is rested. Everyone is getting along better. Everyone is producing at a higher level, as opposed to if your team is feeling tired, if they're feeling sluggish, then you have a group of people who are kind of, just not able to.
Low energy,
Yeah.
that's not elite performance. You can tell
Exactly.
people are just not performing well. And then, and sleep does impact your mood, right? People know that. You kind of get grouchy, right? You get
do.
grouchy when you're not getting enough sleep.
You do.
wake up, you're cranky, grouchy.
I know I
right?
get grouchy when I don't get enough sleep. I prefer 9 hours, but I don't always get it.
Yeah. That's a lot of sleep. And it is interesting, beyond a certain amount of sleep is also not good for you. Actually, I was looking at longevity statistics. I think people who get between 7 and 8 hours live the longest. Beyond 9 hours, it actually goes down like by 10%. Your longevity goes to 10% and even more, like even beyond that. So
I'll have to be careful with that.
Yes, not
although I usually don't have the opportunity, but
well, it's rare as somebody can actually get 9. It's impressive. I would kill to get 9 hours every once in a while. To get 9 hours of sleep. There are studies on hormones. They can see the different hormones and why people are actually grouchy.
Right.
A lack of sleep leads to weight gain. There's 2 hormones that one hormone leads you to not be satiated, right? So your satiation, so you don't know when you're full. So you just keep eating.
Right. And you're over. I notice that in myself. If I don't get enough sleep, I feel like I'm looking for something more to eat.
Yeah, people are starved. Like, right, you're hungry.
I'm not really hungry.
Right. And that's why I think when people have a hangover, right, they think it's from the alcohol, but what it is, they just got a lack of sleep. They may have slept 7 or 8 hours, but they didn't get a good deep sleep, so that hormone goes down and they're just hungry. And then the other one is the hormone that actually makes you hungry, right? There's one that tells you whether you're full or not, and then there's one that actually makes you hungry. So they both act in, not in your best interest when it comes to weight management, which is another topic that that we talk about, one of our principles.
That's excellent. I think the word for that hormone might be ghrelin, and I could be incorrect, but I think it might be.
Yeah, it's a G and an
it's a G word.
It's a G and an E. I'm forgetting the exact ones myself. It might be Laren and Garen, something like that.
Yes, something close to that. Rich, can you tell me a little bit about Principle 3 from your upcoming book on nutrition?
Sure. Nutrition, Principle 3. A lot of people think that, it's exercise. I think I was saying that before, that it's exercise is so important, but it's really nutrition, right? That's what feeds us. That's what fuels us. Right. And it's also can be what makes us sick. We'll talk a little bit more about that in high risk to avoid principle. My belief on nutrition and diets, there's no one diet that fits everybody. Right. There was a book that I read way back called Metabolic Profiling Diet. And basically what it was the premise that everybody's different. We all have a different type of fuel that serves us. Not everybody's the same. And a lot of it is based on where we come from our genetics, from our, the regions that we lived in. And that made a lot of sense to me, as opposed to just everybody should eat this and this and this. It made a lot of sense to me. And I think that probably is why some of these blue zones, people do well in the blue zones, because they're eating what they're meant to eat in these cultures. It's probably not a lot of processed foods there as well. But I know you're working with me on that particular principle and chapter. Let me turn it around on you.
Okay.
What can you tell us about nutrition?
Well, thank you, Rich. So certainly I have had a really interesting experience in studying the blue zones, and also in studying how your ancestry might impact how you process your foods and how your body responds to certain foods is just a really worthwhile study. And you can see it everywhere where we are. People are responding to their foods differently. So whereas I've followed a vegetarian diet for many years, and I know that works for me. and my body feels really good, and I feel energized through eating fruits, vegetables, grains. And whereas some of my contemporaries, some of the people that I work with, they prefer to have more proteins, they prefer to have more fats in their diet, and they're thriving as well. So I think it's so interesting to note that. And I think it also brings us back to just an awareness of our bodies. If we can slow down and we can become more aware of what our body is telling us, which we can find in a yoga practice, or we can find through meditation, we can find in a long walk, we can find
That's
in
what
those...
that's really what mindfulness is about.
Right.
Being mindful about, about what you're eating
Exactly.
and how does it impact you.
Exactly.
That's where the metabolic profile. If you do it on your own, you test things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Exactly.
clearly, if you drink alcohol, you
Right.
do not feel well the next day.
That is
You're poisoning
absolutely
yourself,
true.
right?
I can attest to that, Rich, that
Yeah.
when I have more than one glass of Prosecco, it's forget it the next day.
Next
for
day,
me.
yeah. So that's not, we wouldn't say that's nutrition, but it's
Yes.
just a gross example of if you
Exactly.
put things into your body. And probably the same thing if you're putting ton of sugar into your body.
That's right.
You're eating junk foods, you may go out and do whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't feel good.
Right.
You don't feel good. Right.
Listening
So it's kind
to
of
yourself is so important.
Yes.
And also knowing what your options are. Something that we discuss in the book is the different types of diets that are available, the different types of eating that are available to us, because knowledge is power. And as you always say, it does not apply itself. Just looking into all of those diets, gaining the awareness of them, knowing, does a Mediterranean diet work for you? Does a paleo diet work for you? Vegan, vegetarian, what works for your body? And exploring that and giving yourself the room to explore that, I think, is really important. And also knowing the basics about what is fuel? What are, let's break it down to the absolute simplest things, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats, and what are the grams that your body needs per day where it's going to be processing and working optimally. And I think that that's something that we do explore in our nutrition chapter, and we try to offer our readers that baseline of understanding what is available to them and how they can best use this to serve them.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is, it's an experiment. I always look at my own body as an experiment, as a science experiment, and just testing things out, different things that I eat. Now, people think the reason why people, get addicted to these junk foods, they've been exposed to that early on. There's a lot of commercials, they follow the money. Mm-hmm. And they think that without this, they'll live miserable lives. Right. So, I was fortunate to, be exposed to some good stuff when I was younger. And going to college, I also got, exposed. I was a vegan also for a long time. Went to college. There were these things called cheesesteaks. And my friends were loving them. It's like, I want one. I was like, no, you can't have one. You're a vegan. It's like, finally I broke down and I started eating some cheesesteaks here and there. Right. And it's like, oh yeah, they're pretty good. And then, also, so the sugar and all that stuff, it's immediate gratification, and you get trained on this stuff. So I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I will drink decaf coffee sometimes. I'll drink it without sugar. I would have like 1/2 of the whole healthy sugar, no sugar really, sugar in the raw. Yeah. They went down to just a few granules, and it tasted sweet. I see people putting in sugars like, that'd be disgusting for me. Like I'd puke if I had all that sugar. Like I can't. So my body I've trained my body not to like it. People think, oh, you need that sugar, you need this. No, you don't. People think that they won't be able to enjoy their lives. It's a limiting belief, as we say in the coaching world. So I can eat things with very limited amounts of sugar and really enjoy it. So I'll have blueberries at night with a little bit of almond butter. My son saw me, he's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, something wrong with you, Dad? Like, well, where's the bread? Like, why don't you make yourself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? He's like, we got Jiffy over there. Like, Jiffy? That's disgusting. Yeah. Right? So I would never, for me, that feels bad. I really enjoy the blueberries, and that's a real treat for me. Absolutely. For most people, that might be like eating a piece of cheesecake. It's really, I get the same amount of pleasure. I'm telling you, because I have had periods of my life where I could have that type of stuff. I think in college, way back, there was a store downstairs, a little deli downstairs in college. At nighttime, I would want a pint of ice cream for some reason.
Rich, I fell into the same trap when I was in college. It was a Ben and Jerry's fish food.
It's Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, that's what it was. It was Ben and Jerry's. Like, And I could like, oh my God, I eat a pint. I could never think now of eating a pint of ice cream. Like, that's
Never.
disgusting to me.
Yeah.
But I was able to put it down then and enjoy it. But now, so people think that they won't be able to enjoy their lives without this. It's not true. It just is not true.
It's not true. And that kind of reminds me also of the effect of community and environment on how we're living our lives and what we're putting into our bodies. And that was one of the tenets of the Blue Zones, is the only thing that they really all had in common. None of them ate the same foods. None of them practiced the same lifestyles. But what they all had in common was a sense of community. And it just goes to show how much your community and your environment or your workplace really affects the choices that you're making and what you're putting into your body and how you're living your life. So that's another testament to why workplace wellness is so important.
Yeah, it is a huge, has a huge impact just to social. We are social beings, and it's a really important. If you look at it, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the longevity principle. Yeah, it's a big part of why people have long, and it's not just, as we'll talk about, it's not just lifespan and living longer. It's about health span, right? Living longer and living healthier and living so you can enjoy life. It sucks to, when you get older, people live longer, but they're in nursing homes drooling all over themselves. They don't know what's going on. That is not a quality of life that, great, you're living longer, right? So the insurance companies can make money. The nursing homes can make money. They just want to keep you there in the beds and we'll just keep cranking out the money. But we want to live a healthier life, be 100 and still be able to go out and play tennis and basketball.
Absolutely.
That's what we're looking for.
That is my goal. Can you tell me a little bit about structure and alignment as it relates to the human body?
Yeah, so I found out about structure and alignment really when I started doing yoga, and I realized, wow, this is really important, right? And when we were working on deciding which principles would come first, do we talk about exercise first? Do we talk about structure and alignment? And you and I chatted about it. And yeah, it is structure and alignment comes first, because without that, you won't be able to exercise properly. Right now, the yogis really, again, goes back to meditation. Having the right structure and alignment helps you to meditate. It's just such an important area. And then when you I learned this, when you get injured, a lot of times those injuries are as a result of you not being in alignment. This guy, Pete Agostiu, I was turned on to him by Tony Robbins, and Tony swore by this. Tony had back problems. He found Pete Agostiu. Now, Pete really studied the body. It was all about alignment. You'd go there, you'd see him or his people, and they would actually film you and show you that you're out of alignment. They put a little line down, so you walk, and it's like, oh wow, well, a little out of alignment here. And what they do is giving you these exercises to get you back into alignment. It's like, this is so you need to do these compensating exercises until you're back into alignment. And they had all these weird names for them. It was like, wait, that's cats and dogs. Like, wait, that's these are
yoga.
They were yoga. He was stealing, so he's the Western version of it. No, God bless him, doesn't matter. I love the guy, but he was just trying to make it so the Western world would appreciate it. So he'd give it all these different names. I mean, he's just using yoga to get people back into alignment.
Right.
So I was like, wait, so I was doing the rights of yoga. That's where it's at. And I know, you being a yoga instructor, Pilates instructor, you know a lot about this. And I know you're working on these chapters with me. So tell me what your thoughts are on this.
I am happy to be working on these chapters. Structure and alignment is so just integral to our well-being, and because whether we're exercising or not, whether we're doing anything else or not, we're still moving around in the world. We're existing in our bodies, and we are moving around with them, and we need to maintain proper structure and alignment for ourselves in order to move with ease, in order to allow the energy to flow through us. I kind of think of it like this, like if you are out of alignment or if your structure is lacking, you're creating like kinks in your chain. So if your body is like a chain, like your spine, and you're out of alignment, then you're creating these kinks and it's making it harder for you to move through that. So I think that establishing your structure and alignment is just so important. And I know that when I started yoga, I had back problems, just like so many people when they start yoga. My lower back was, I had been a ballerina for many years, and I just had lower back really a weakness there. There was something that was not structurally correct. And through practicing yoga, it has gone away. Like it's
Wow.
completely gone away. And it was something that just kind of followed me around. Every few months, my back would give way for no apparent reason.
It makes
It's,
perfect common sense
yeah,
also. Even as you were saying it, I was thinking when we're out of alignment with our values, right?
exactly.
And you're saying it's easier to move through life. When you're out of alignment with your values, it's also hard to move through life. And I was
Exactly.
taking it to a different topic, but what the point I'm trying to make is that it's just common sense.
Right.
If you're out of alignment, things are not going to go well
Right.
for you,
They're not.
and it's just going to get worse
Right.
the longer you're out of alignment. So this chapter is one that means. Can you tell me a little bit about core, or is that more on the exercise? Does core
Well,
impact our ability to be aligned properly?
absolutely. So our musculature in general will affect our ability to maintain alignment. So the way that our muscles interact with our bones and our ligaments is going to affect how we're holding our bodies. So our core needs to be engaged. And not only does our core need to be engaged, but the muscles on the flip side, on our back, need to be just as engaged. So for us to hold that structure. So oftentimes I have worked with clients who oftentimes are lacking in their core. That's just a common thing that happens, and something that I use a lot of Pilates exercises to correct that. Joseph Pilates is one of my great inspirations, and I think that Pilates is an exercise routine that anyone really can incorporate into their lives. Yes, maintaining your core is definitely essential. Also your back, right? And also the muscles that are alongside every one of our bones are integral to the process of maintaining structure and alignment.
I think it's so important, when you're describing it and you understand the importance of it and what it actually does. When I'm doing my next plank, this will make it like, oh, yeah, this does wonders for me for the reasons that you're talking about. It makes it a lot more enjoyable. I'm not sure planks are enjoyable, but it makes it a lot more palatable, let's just say,
Right.
When you're doing it. You know that you've got a real purpose behind it, and you're envisioning, this is getting me into alignment. It's great for my core is great from building my core is great for my structure and alignment.
Certainly, yes. It becomes fulfilling when you know that it's leading to your proper structure and alignment and to you feeling really good in your body. So even those difficult moments of plank, which is one of my favorite exercises to integrate, and it's not the favorite of many of my clients. They kind of look at me like they're like, plank
like
again,
yeah.
Plank again. Yes, plank again. And all of the variations of plank that I'm going to introduce now too. But yes, plank it's incredible. And on the other side of it, on the other side of that effort, on the other side of the discomfort is living in greater ease in your body, which is sort of cool, I think.
Yeah, as opposed to dis-ease.
Exactly.
Yeah, as opposed to dis-ease, right? Which is where you go unless you're fine. So this is a good segue into exercise.
Yes. Rich, can you tell me a little bit about the chapter on exercise?
Yeah, the exercise principle is it's usually where people think about what people think about when they think about health. It's like, health, that's it. Exercise,
right?
So much more, and it's really, really important.
Right.
Of course, it's just one of the 10 principles that we talk about. So, I think the key to exercise is doing something that you enjoy, right? Figuring out something that you enjoy. So, and there are different ways to do it. One of my favorite coaches, Tony, would talk about if you're going to do something, you have a goal, always add to it, how can I do this, right? Like, how can I run? And then add to it and enjoy the process. Always add to
because your brain is
right. Your brain is still the best computer that there is.
Right.
AI's catching up, but humans are still AI's catching up. You're gonna get ideas from it, but always add. How can I exercise and enjoy them? There's so many different ways to enjoy the process. So, for instance, you like running or whatever you do, music. Right? Music really gets you there, so that, and then you can become even addicted to it.
Right.
A lot of people talk about, this runner's high and all those things, whether they're true. I happen to think they are. People saying they're debunked. No. Because if you're living, it's like, yeah, you get addicted. There are good addictions. These are things that are good to be addicted to, meaning they are routines, they are habitual. If you don't do them, you feel lousy. Like, oh my God, I didn't exercise. I've got to get my exercise in. So I think that's one of the big keys to exercise is figuring out something that you enjoy the process. Sign up. I love basketball. Sign up for a league. You go, it's great exercise, and you're having fun, and you're getting the social benefits that we talked about before. That's also healthy. So how do you do it, and enjoy the process? And then, again, this is another chapter that you're an expert in. Tell me, what are your thoughts on aerobic? There's always a debate: aerobic exercise, anaerobic. No, it depends on who you talk to, and right, the weightlifters are it's all about anaerobic. Aerobic exercise means nothing, and they talk to the runners like, anaerobic, weightlifting? No.
It's true.
So which is it? What's the answer?
I've certainly heard all of those from different clients that I've worked with, people that I've worked with, friends. And I have to say, I hate to just be neutral, but I think that they are equally important. I do. I think that aerobic exercise is equally important to anaerobic exercise, and I think both should be integrated into your weekly routine. That's something that I do for myself, and it makes me feel great, and it's something that I recommend for all of my clients, and I see incredible results for them.
It goes back to common sense. I haven't been able to figure it out myself, and I do both. It does seem to make common sense. So balance. Right. Our bodies are made to move.
Absolutely.
Right. And we have muscles. So I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, thank you. I think, yes, and it goes back to something that you were saying before, which when you enjoy what you're doing, and it's so much more likely that you're going to do more of it, right? So if you think about exercise, it's maybe a half an hour of your day, it's 1 hour of your day. And if you're enjoying it, then it becomes something that you're going to look forward to doing, and it's good for your body at the same time. So it's a win-win. It's common sense. It's a win-win.
For me, I can go hours. I love it. If I have the time to do it, I'll go just be down there for hours. Just like I'm fortunate enough to have a gym in my home. I love being down there.
Yes.
I love being down there. You can listen to books. Again, my coach Tony talks about double time. So that's another way. If you want to listen to, read a book, you can listen to a book or a podcast while you're exercising, while you're doing certain things anyway. Yeah. And you get double time. You get real high value out of it. So I really enjoy exercise. Now there are some things obviously I don't enjoy doing. I'm not crazy like you and enjoy plank postures.
I do enjoy.
But I try to distract myself. It's kind of like the marshmallow exercise. If you're going to be successful at something, the most successful people when they're doing difficult things, they figure out a way to distract themselves. I was just talking to my friend Melissa about this. And so there are ways to distract yourself when you're working on a difficult exercise.
And certainly you touched on one of the best ways with music. And also music then also speaks to another sound therapy that you can incorporate. So that's also doing double time. So sometimes I become intentional with the hertz frequencies that I'm playing while I'm moving. And I feel like it's just an incredible experience because I'm going through my yoga or I'm going through my Pilates routine, and I'm also listening to the hertz frequencies, and it's just like my whole body is absorbing those sounds as well as moving from the inside out. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's incorporating all of your senses. And also, something that we do every day at Arootah is gratitude.
Yes.
And maintaining gratitude for the ability to move our bodies, the joy that it creates when you can feel what your body can do I think that's one of the best joys in life is really experiencing that, and all of our senses and our strengths and even our weaknesses.
Well, thank you for coming. I know it's late. Really, hopefully you guys will come to the seminar, webinar, workshop, read the book, and I think you get a tremendous amount of benefit from it. You'll live to at least 100?
Definitely. Centenary.
So we're looking for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Appreciate it.